Hey, Matty Adams, welcome to Electronic Music Life. How you doing?
Hey James, it's nice to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
feeling
thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on board, man.
yeah, thank you for the invitation. Very grateful I was in your thoughts and I can't wait to get into things.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad that our paths have crossed. And I learnt about you, last year at the end of last year, and through someone through another friend of a friend. Shout out to Izzy. Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and let the listeners know a bit about who you are and what you're doing at the moment in the music industry, in and the electronic music industry for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Matty Adams. I am an artist, empowerment coach slash artist, and um currently, I am empowering DJs, producers, musicians, creatives in the electronic music scene, build the confidence necessary to take their career to the next level. So, more specifically, helping them transform their stress, their anxiety, and their fatigue into a deep seated faith in their own abilities to succeed in this often roller coaster industry that we have the absolute pleasure of working.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you've and prior to that, you were working as a music journalist, and you were based out of you're living like at lengths in Ibiza. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was between 2014 and 2019 working from the party capital of the world, Ibiza, as a music journalist, and I was living the life. I was I often like to say 6 months of the year I was living my dream, and the other 6 months I would dream about my dream. But I was interviewing the world's biggest artists. I was reviewing the all the biggest events on the island and just really becoming immersed in um the nostalgia of the magic that would exist on that tiny little island called Ibiza.
Mm-hmm. And which publications were you working for? Was it one publication online, uh, online magazine, or was it several that you were working for? Were you a freelancer,
Yeah,
or
so
you?
so predominantly I was the editor in chief at my Ibiza TV,
Mhm.
and I would also freelance for a selection of smaller, more music focused websites and a couple of different Ibiza based websites covering not just music but things outside of music like cuisines, travel, hotels, like different things about the island, predominantly
Right.
focused on the island now.
Okay. Okay. And how did you get into sort of music and lifestyle sort of journalism? Like, how was that? Yeah, what led you to that path?
Yeah. It was definitely my curiosity, my um enthusiasm to uh travel for sure. Like I
Mhm.
was originally a sports journalist after I graduated from university with my degree, and then I went to Ibiza back in 2013 for the first time, for a week, lads holiday, standard, you know, had did all the things, sex, girls, drugs, the usual, right? And then there was just something about the energy of the island which piqued my curiosity and my interest, and I was like, I wonder what it'd be like to live out here for a season, for a summer, and like pairing that with what I was already doing, journalism. I was like, how can we marry these two together? And I was looking for different websites like Ibiza Spotlight. I came across my Ibiza TV. I came across just a couple of different websites, and I was like trying to figure out how can I marry these two together. And then 2014, I just took a plunge, but to one-way flight. And I was like, I'm going to become a journalist in Ibiza. And yeah.
Amazing. And yeah, you know, it takes a bit of courage and I guess there's a lot of, you know, there's a risk in that sort of decision making to you know, make that plunge. And you know, this website's about, this podcast is about you know, wanting to show people on how, you know, the path of certain individuals and what they've done to sort of carve out their path in the music industry, whether it's being a creative or being a player in the media, or and so, you know, thanks for sharing that story. Now you mentioned you were like when we spoke last time that there was quite a significant point for you that that kind of shifted and put you in a different sort of path in wanting to find this road that you're on now, working with artists. And it had a lot to do with an adverse type situation for you. And you kind of came out from the ashes from that and found a new voice and a new way to create this new path for you. Tell me a bit about that, if you you know, want to share about that story, about what happened for you before the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found myself in a loop, repetition, season after season after season, and lost myself to the nostalgia of the island. Don't get me wrong, like I was in my element. I was, you know, rubbing shoulders with some of the industry's most revered names, summer by summer, and all that was like, what's the word? Like just, I guess, like expanded by, like that feeling was expanded by substance abuse. And I just thought I was on cloud nine every single summer, right? And 2019 was my rock bottom in terms of I was no longer working for the website as a journalist, and when I was no longer in that role, I found that I'd lost a part of my identity, because I'd, you know, with the awareness I have now, I was so attached to being a journalist. I would tell others, like, because, you know, you meet new people out there all the time, and like my go-to line was, you know, when someone asked, so what do you do? I'm like, I'm a journalist. Like I repeated it. It would get me purpose. It gave me, excitement. It gave me a reason to be alive. You know, like, I know that sounds like cliche, but
Yeah. Yeah.
When I lost that, I felt like I lost my, not my reason to be alive, but I felt I lost my purpose. You know, I went to.
Did you ever find that like when you were sort of enmeshed in that that spiel about, you know, being this journalist, and did you ever have a thought in your mind that something wasn't right? Like, did that ever cross your mind that something was not like fully self-actualized, or something that like you felt like you were just on this, you know, playing out a part, you know? Did you ever have that thought prior to the crash, or the, you know?
Yeah, totally. Like, I'd always get it in the winters when I returned back to the UK.
Right.
Because it was seasonal. So, like, all my dreams would happen 6 months of the year. And then the other 6 months, I was miserable.
Yeah, so it was almost like you were dependent on that, like a codependency almost, right? Like on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I got comfortable and complacent and egoistic, and thought I was somebody, you know? Like, my friends would all come out to the island, based in the UK, and like, they'll tell you stories, like, when they meet new people and they talk about myself, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that time, the first time I came out to see Matty in his element in Ibiza. And then we just, as soon as I put the bags down at the hotel, we just got a taxi to Amnesia and interviewed Paris Hilton. And then got pictures with her, and then went free into a party and had free drinks and all of the things, right? And then the next day you go off to like Amnesia and so forth, like all these like crazy super clubs, getting guest list in every single one, free entry, rubbing shoulders with all the biggest. Like, it was, see, like, my mind was telling me then it was too good to be true, but it was true. It happened. It was real. But so was also the other 6 months of the year that I wasn't talking about, where I would be depressed and trapped behind the bars of the prison of the mind, and like shame would conceal my reality to the point where the only way out was going back to Ibiza. But I was addicted to the lifestyle, not the narcotics, the lifestyle. I was abusing the narcotics, but I was addicted to the lifestyle. And the lifestyle was an excuse to cover the fears and doubts what really existed underneath. And yeah, like, fast forwarding back to your question, you know, 2019, once I lost that identity, once I felt I lost a part of my identity, suicidal thoughts would come up. And I remember April that year, I was at a festival called Somewhere in Romania. It happens once a year. It's like a 5-day festival. And I remember just being so overwhelmed by anxiety and all these thoughts on the dance floor, and like, I was having a panic attack at the time. You know, I just I felt knows how much cocaine I did just before. I was just overwhelmed. Like, I couldn't hold eye contact with anyone on the dance floor. If someone said hello to me, I would like look away. I was like fragile, you know. I didn't know who I was. Completely lost myself. And then I told my friend, "Oh, I'm just going to the toilet. I'll be right back." Bullshit. It was just an excuse that I was still hiding behind. And then I went back to the hotel, walked up to the balcony, overlooked it, and all I could hear was music in the distance, cars down below, and then these It's just my ego. Like the latest song. Go on then.
Mm.
What are you waiting for? It's you know, like, dude, this gets to be all over now. Or do you want to go through any more? And
Wow, man.
in that moment, just reflecting back to that now, because I can feel like
Yeah, I just felt that, man. That vagal break,
I can
bro.
feel it. Yeah, mate. Yeah. I feel it, like the gasps in my chest, and
Yeah.
the yeah. I can. Yeah, I remember it very vividly, and like I'll never forget. Yeah, stepping back and just sleeping on it. Just step back, and I was like, go to sleep for a bit, and then wake up, see how you feel, and I'll never forget like my friends knocking on the door, coming in, and like they were just like looking to get some drinks or food or wherever it was, and then I heard one of them say, "Is that Matty on the sofa?" And then I was awake the whole time, right? My eyes were just shut with those thoughts, and I never ran out of a room so quickly. I was like, "Yeah, it is me." They just fucking pelted it for the door. But I know in that moment when I stepped back, what I was really saying to myself underneath all that noise was, no, this doesn't have to end like this. There's more to it than this. There's more to it. Like, your journey doesn't end here. This ends not the final chapter.
Like, it's great that you heard that voice stronger, like that you chose to hear that voice and trust that, even though you don't know what the next steps are, you trusted that voice, Yeah. No, man,
Yeah.
that was heavy, man. Thanks for telling me that story.
Yeah, and you know what, mate, as well, like, that was heavy. Yeah, because like, who has these conversations? We don't normally have them because they're so heavy, right? Because there's so much shame around it. There's so much. It's so heavy that the number one, I think, obviously it's well known now, but like the number one killer in men under 40 is themselves. And why? Because the weight's too heavy to carry, so they'd rather just. They'd rather just fall with the weight. They'd rather just be taken away by the anchor of their thoughts, and just like be gone into long living memory, and then the words that they wanted to hear in the moment they don't get to because everyone else hears it at their funeral. And what does it have to be that way? It doesn't.
And obviously this was a catalyst for finding this path of wanting to help people in the music industry, and you sort of turned it around to find a different purpose for what you wanted to do now, and it's helping people dismantle this stuff now, right? Like, it's being able to understand what's behind these kind of thoughts, and helping people rise up and figure out how to navigate through this. It's not easy for everyone, with and being able to provide a service where you've learned stuff and you're continually to learn about coaching so that you can keep, developing your toolkit. So tell me a bit about the current, what you're doing now with your coaching with artists and producers and DJs. What you mentioned that you're helping specifically with anxiety and stress, and tell me a little bit about what your coaching looks like in
Yeah. So my coaching helps them see beyond the stress, the anxiety, and the fatigue. It helps them build the courage to actually stare in the mirror at the reality, both the ugly part of the truth, but the beautiful part of the truth as well. Because why? They're one of the same, because it's the same individual. Yet we label ourselves as stressed or anxious or, all of these negative things as separate to all of these magical things. Yet the magic exists in one and all. And like my coaching approach is just, I started off becoming certified under one of my mentors, Jay Shetty, at his certification school, entered at the mindset level and like learned so much. How to ask powerful, curious questions to really dig deep to the root of what my clients' biggest challenges are. Using things like metaphors to help them build a deeper understanding beyond the mind level. Using not simple, but like effective practices like visualization meditations, getting them to connect to their deepest desires and helping them move towards the signature on their soul, the calling on their heart. And as I've gone deeper into this journey, I've been learning even deeper practices to create even more sustained change. Because, I was listening to a podcast between Joe Dispenza and Jay Shetty earlier today, actually. And like, the deeper I go, the deeper I get to take my clients. And like, I was thinking of different ways to articulate this and help this land with those who are just beginning this journey. And it's like, the thoughts are the language of the mind. Emotions are the language of the body. The thoughts influence the emotions, and that's your state of being. And it's learning and applying different practices to engage you at an emotional level. Because when you really look at things, it's like your thoughts influence your choices, which influence your behaviors, your experiences, and your emotion. And then it continues to be a cyclic routine until the emotion is activated to ignite that desired change. And I mean, I've just been navigating it myself as well this summer.
Yeah.
Through my own different challenges and learning to connect to the frequency of the emotions that I desire as I'm navigating those emotions which are also a part of me, but I find difficult to accept, but also need to acknowledge. And it's that self-regulation, that bouncing between the two, which forms the bridge to create sustainable change.
So what is a technique or a tool that you teach your clients to be able to maintain? Because obviously we can't stay at our optimum 100% of the time, but what kind of especially when things are looking grim, what's something that you teach your clients to help them snap and try to bounce back and kind of reduce that moment of disparity or that moment of difficulty? Like, what's something that you teach them to help them to regulate?
Yeah, all right. So two things came to mind. One for the negative emotions, one for the positive. To acknowledge the negative, I like to start with my clients at a mindset level and use the exercise called the STEP exercise. And you
what
try
exercise?
down your situation. Yeah, it's called the STEP exercise. So STEB. STEP.
Okay. Yep.
And you literally do a week-long audit of your situations, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors over a 7-day period. And with each day that passes, at the end of the day, the standout situation and what were your thoughts, what were your emotions, what were your behaviors. And over a 7-day period, you've got a better awareness than what you did have at the start of the 7 days. And you bring that to the session, and then we have something tangible to work with and explore, because you start seeing the consistencies, you start seeing the emotions which are really at play, the behaviors, and you get to dive deeper into that. And to really connect to the emotions of the future, the individual they are becoming and already are. They just need to become aware and embodied. And I love to get my clients to celebrate 3 times a day, set in themselves joy alarms.
Right.
And, just labeling it with what are you celebrating about yourself right now? And although it may feel uncomfortable for some who are unfamiliar, and of course it will, it's like, I've never celebrated myself before, so like this is weird. Like this is all weird is new. And it's just like unleashing into like limitless amounts of joy in the moment, uncapped, without a care in the world, no matter who's around. And you're just like, woo! Just like, just embrace that feeling, and like you can feel your chest open up, and you get your arms in the air and smile and just scream out, and that's how you embrace that feeling.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you just gotta push it. You gotta push yourself, right? You've got to do that to step out of that and disrupt the pattern of the day, to kind of like it has an effect on the nervous system, the neuro pathways, and creates a different energy, to throughout the day. No, I like that technique. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like James, what are you celebrating about yourself right now in this moment? First thing that comes to mind. First thing.
First thing, that my producer made it here eventually today.
Yes. Yeah. And like you're laughing there, but I'm curious, like what's the emotion behind the laugh?
I could kill him, but he made it.
So it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling though. It's a good feeling. Because it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
and there you go. And like just like that, you've shifted.
Yeah, right on.
Your energy.
Absolutely.
Like straight away.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah. I bet he's creasing as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's having a giggle. We've cut the tension now in the room, so it's all right.
Yeah, amazing. But see, it's that like that infectiousness as well of your laugh, and now I'm laughing, and now the exchange, the moves are so much lighter, and
it's so simple. It's so simple. It's so simple, right? Yeah,
we're just like conditioned by
No,
society.
we forget about these human behaviors, man. We forget about this stuff, you know. Like it's the most simple things that are at our fingertips that can create present like moment, like being in the present, you know, like just like because we get so caught up in ideas and things that we
get so caught up in the future or the past, and then when we're worrying about the past that we can't change, or we're trying to predict the future that is yet to happen, we could completely miss creating the future because we're not in the present moment. And like, you know, just like when you was laughing, then it reminded me of like one thing I'm doing like right now, which is incredible for me. Like when I need to just like switch my energy up, like if you want to get practical as well, like I'm aware that as I'm focusing on like whether it's working on my music or my business, I'm aware that you get 25 minutes before your focus starts to like fade. 25 minutes, so I get deeply immersed in 25 minutes of whatever I'm doing, and then I'll have a 5-minute break where I will be intentional with the emotion that I'm looking to craft. Not always, but sometimes intentional with what I'm feeling in that moment as well. If I'm like if I'm wanting to like pour some emotion into a track, I'll just spend 5 minutes practicing a new technique. But if I'm wanting to feel laughter, like right now, I'm just watching like 3-minute Impractical Joker videos on YouTube and that shit. I'm just sat there in the back of a coffee shop, just pissing myself laughing at the stupidest shit. like I'm in my own living room, just watching it, and like and then I'll go back to what I'm doing, and like I'm just feeling so much lighter and energized by the laughter. Some people must think I'm a madman. At the same time, I used to.
I do that. I do that. Watch a bit of stand up sometimes, just to kind of like, disrupt and just have a laugh. You know, I think it's we forget these things sometimes. You know, just to have that. Create that. I think as much as to have discipline with structure and your routine, that these things should be also part of your routine and structure. Like put that time aside to laugh, put time aside to play, and because we need those things. We need those things to feel human, you know?
Yeah, and it's like whatever works for you in the moment with what you're working towards, you know, if it's structure and then time blocking, that joy or that peace or that calmness, then do so. Put a reason behind it if you want it to, if you really need to motivate yourself into that masculine energy, but to tap into that feminine. However, if you just feel like waking up and screaming for joy first thing, do so.
Yeah.
Just acknowledge how you feel in the moment.
Yes. Yeah. And rather than, I hear what you're saying, like rather than actually just be so rigid about all right, it's 10 o'clock. It's time to laugh. Like, just be. Yeah.
Yeah, and like sometimes it's good to do that, to not necessarily force it, but to remind yourself.
Yes. Yeah. But also, but I hear what you're saying. Like, also just go with the flow too. Be open for the flow. Yeah.
It's a dance, right? It's a dance.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're making music now. What kind of music that are you working on that you love, and tell me a bit about what you're working on at the moment musically.
Yeah, right. So like I fundamentally produce like slow, minimal techno music. Not always slow, but within the 122, 127 range BPM.
That's not slow, man.
It depends what you're used to. Depends what you're used to.
For me, that's perfect.
Yeah. See, no, so dude, you're talking to a man who predominantly listened to like 140 BPM techno.
Wow, for like right.
Years. Just like letting loose my negative emotions on the dance floor, like, yes, heavy techno, I resonate. But like, learning how to produce minimal music has applied a groove to my sound, and I feel like it's really mirrors where I'm at with my mood, in myself, my self-love, because you can feel it in the track, and there's like, you want to smile when you hear the riffs coming or the pads, and it's like very melancholic, but also like the groove brings so much joy, and it's slow. Yeah, you want to just close your eyes and just immerse yourself in the feeling. And yeah, like one thing I'm really loving doing right now is just freestyling some remixes from like sounds from the 90s, like tracks from the 90s that I really love, like some Kylie Minogue or some Cassie, and like just really blending that with these slower textures, but still quite heavy and stripped back, darker, minimal stuff. It's creating quite a nice blend.
Nice. Awesome. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure to learn more about you today, and I know it's late for you, and I appreciate you jumping on board this hour in the UK. And look, it was sharing what you're doing with your coaching and with your artists, and I think it's amazing, and keep doing what you're doing, man. Big kudos to you, brother.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate the invite. It's been an absolute pleasure connecting with you today. Someone else who's also flying the big emotional flag in the music industry, and just empowering others to do the same.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, Matty. Thanks for coming on.
Big love.